Sad news this week as an Offaly and Drumcullen legend Paddy Molloy passed away. Obviously, one of your own county mates, Michael Verney. Can you tell us tell us about Paddy Molloy? Because obviously he wouldn't have been in there during the glory years of winning the All Irelands, but he was a huge player for the county nonetheless, and club, of course.
Ah, Savage, yeah. Like Paddy's son Dara, I would have played with him growing up in Burr, and even I would have played with Paul as well in Burr. And I kind of grew up on stories of Paddy Molloy. Like everyone, it's funny because like the likes of Brian Whelan, Johnny Dooley, Eugene Coughlin, Kevin Keenan, they were the marquee men, 80s and 90s, and they were, I suppose, the men that got all the glory. But the stories we always heard growing up were about Paddy Molloy, who basically soldiered with Offaly from performances. He scored 8 or 9 points in that Leinster final. 4-4, 2-8, all these big performances. Even there was one year where he Offaly only played 3 games and he ended up as joint top scorer in the All Ireland Championship. Just supposed to have been absolutely unbelievable. Obviously, never seen any clips even because they never would have been on TV. But he played with a Drumcullen side that were notoriously tough and notoriously skillful, but notoriously tough. And he was actually the first man to lift the Sean Robbins Cup, the name for the Offaly senior hurling title. That was John Cullen's last title in 1960. Paddy was captain. They beat Shinrone 4-11 to 4-10. Just an absolute legend. Like my father, my mother it would have always been Paddy Molloy would have been the one that they echoed back to because while other lads got the glory, shall we say, with the better teams, he was delivering unbelievable performances with bad teams, with unsuccessful Offaly teams, and he leaves an unbelievable legacy.
From what I can see online, he played his first game in goals for Offaly, and he also he had a distinguished career in those colours from 1955 to 73, which is an unbelievable run. Played every position except full back, and also featured heavily for Leinster in the Railway Cup.
Yeah, I think he was the first Offaly man to win a Railway Cup title. To the best of my knowledge, I think it was 1960, which was like back then. The Railway Cup was probably between an All Ireland club title and an All Ireland senior county title. It was massive, and he was one of the mainstays of during the Trows Offaly career. He was one of the mainstays of the Leinster team, and like there's actually there was a time when one person from each county was selected to go over to New York to promote GAA and promote hurling and football. And Paddy Molloy was the Offaly representative and trying to find the pick. Obviously, Jimmy Doyle, icon, Christy Ring, widely regarded as one of the best to ever play the game. But Paddy Molloy, within Offaly circles and outside of Offaly, was seen so fondly and like regarded so highly. An unbelievable player. Actually won an Offaly senior football title with Tullamore in 1963 as well. So Drumcullen they play a bit of junior football maybe now. I'm not even sure if they have a team this year or last year. But he would have obviously went over and played with Tullamore. And that just shows you how good he was and how talented of a sportsman he was. And like he would have done a good bit with Burr underage growing up. And he would have been if you saw him at a match, you'd want to impress him. That was the stature that he had, Just there's Paddy Molloy. Just I may try and do something, or I may book up or something. And he was the sort of lad that inspired you even without saying anything. He was just that sort of a figure. You knew how much of a legendary figure. You knew the history he had within Offaly hurling circles and even outside of Offaly. He was just unbelievably well regarded. His death is going to be a big loss to both Drumcullen. He would have lived in Burr in recent years. Yeah, just such a really loved and revered character. And just even he was 84 when he passed away. Still an unbelievably strong man. Like there were different players back then. They had all the skill. I remember someone saying to me he was the first one that they really saw perfecting the technique of striking on the run. Said they'd never seen anything like that. An interesting little backstory just about his toughness. My uncle Jim was a nifty enough hurler, Jim Verney, but he went to the States when he was about 18 or 19, and they were playing Drumcullen in a match a day or two before he went. And his mother at the time was very reluctant to let him play in case anything happened to him. And he was quite a stylish player out around the middle of the field. And he went up and caught a ball about 5 minutes into the game and put it over the bar. And he came running back out or whatever. And Paddy Molloy says to him, he says, Vernie, he said, if you put your hand up again, he said, you'll be going to America with a broken hand. That was the way. That was just, they were so tough. Real skillful, stylish players, but unbelievably tough. I suppose, like, without being sorry, when men were men, that's the way hurling was played back then. But Paddy's going to be unbelievably missed in Drumcullen, Offaly, Burr, and everywhere around Ireland. Anywhere where hurling was played, his name would have been mentioned.
Absolutely, and condolences to his friends and families. Like, he was Offaly Sports Star of the Year in 1966, selected for the Cardinal Cushing Games in 65, top scorer in Division 2 of the National Hurling League for almost a decade, and he was on the Offaly team at the Millennium and inducted into the GAA Hall of Fame in 2010. So thanks for those nice words, and once again, condolences to his friends and his family.